What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the latest film coming from Disney's animation studios, and that is Wish. Directed by Chris Buck, who directed things like Frozen and Frozen 2, as well as Tarzan from 1999. This film is also directed by Fawn, Veerasunthorn, who this is their directorial debut, and stars an all-star cast of people like Ariana, DeBose, Chris Pine, Alan Tudyk, Angelique Cabral, Victor Garber, Evan Peters, and many, many more. Before I get too far into this, I'd like to say a big thanks to those kind folks at Disney for sending me out an early invite to check this movie out. It's been a couple of days since I saw the movie now. I saw that they had a bit of a little gap between when I got to see the movie and when the embargo for this movie lifted, so I figured I'd give myself a little bit of time to sit on the movie and think about it, but I'm happy to start this off right out of the gate by saying that I loved this film. Wish is the 62nd film coming from Walt Disney Studios Animation, and it's definitely something I was a little bit kind of feeling meh about, if I'm completely and utterly honest. I never reviewed the film that came out last year, which was Strange Worlds, but you know, I liked it for what it was. I thought it was cute. I know a lot of people didn't really love it. I don't necessarily think it's as strong as some of the other Disney films that have come out in previous years, things like Encanto or Moana, Zootopia, and many others. But you know, going into it, I thought that the movie looked cute. I thought that the trailers looked appealing enough, but I wasn't necessarily mind blown at the trailers. I wasn't going into this thinking it was going to be a top tier film, but I'm so happy to say that I love this film. I honestly genuinely had a really good time with it, and I feel like it was a movie that came out at the right time for me. This year, Disney is celebrating their 100th anniversary, so whether you go to the theme parks and see the various statues and different things they have going on at the theme parks celebrating 100 years, or you see things like the short that they released on Disney Plus called Once Upon a Studio that celebrates all the various characters across 100 years of storytelling, they have done a lot this year to really showcase the fact that it is their 100-year anniversary. And I didn't really put that into my thought process when I was going into this movie and how this film was going to be made, because Wish is a culmination pretty much of all of those storylines, bringing together tons of little Easter eggs, references, and storylines and character motivations that are very similar to things you've seen in other Disney films. Now, some might feel that that feels redundant. Some might say that that is something that kind of makes it feel predictable. And while I can't agree that this is a film that is predictable and does feel familiar in terms of its tale, it's a movie that I ultimately felt was a love letter to decades and decades and decades, and now a century of storytelling from Disney. And if you've been following this channel for a long time, then you know that I love Disney. Whether it be the theme parks, the classic animated films, the various Disney Channel original movies that I grew up watching, I have covered tons and tons and tons of Disney content here on the channel, as well as doing tons of vlogs at Disney theme parks, because I just love that stuff. And honestly, it was a perfect situation because I got to go check out this movie with my mom. She was my +1 who joined me to see the movie a little bit early, and she loved the film as well. And my mom was the one who got me into Disney. When I was a kid, she would have me and my sister sit down, watch those old Disney VHS tapes all the time. She was the one who would take me to the theme parks all the time, and really just kind of created that love that I have for Disney till this day. All this to say, I thought that Wish for me was a beautiful culmination of what Disney has done in the past. I don't necessarily feel that this film is wholly original when it comes to its narrative, but I don't necessarily think it's meant to be. This is a movie that, again, brings together various storylines and different elements and characters from other stories from Disney and puts it into one movie that's jam-packed with Easter eggs and even characters that are involved in this story that have their own names that are clearly reminiscent of characters from other Disney properties. Again, some might find that to be a bit redundant, but ultimately I found it to be really charming, and again, a love letter as a longtime fan of Disney. Even during the credits of this movie, there are tons of little Easter eggs and references and images that have to do with the various films that have come out. So this film is not really its own Disney film. While it is, it very much is tied to that legacy of other Disney films. And if you're like me and you grew up and you're very well versed in all the films that have come out before this, the 61 that have come out before this, then I think without a doubt you're going to catch all those little Easter eggs and references, whether it be in the dialogue or a quick moment in the background or something that a character is wearing, and you're going to have a smile on your face without a doubt. So let's talk about what this movie is all about. The movie opens up and we're introduced to the Kingdom of Rosas, and we're introduced to mainly the king, who is a sorcerer named Magnifico, who's played by Chris Pine. He eats up this role, definitely chews up the scenery, and you can tell he was having a lot of fun in this role for sure, 110%. You can tell that right out of the gate. And so he pretty much is this sorcerer who people come to, they give them his wishes, they, tell him what they wish for in life, what their dreams are, their aspirations, and he keeps those close and safe. He protects those wishes for the people of Rosas, and every here and there, he'll grant one of those wishes. But for those who have given their wishes to him, they do feel a bit of an emptiness, as if that wish has not been granted yet. They're kind of feeling a lack of motivation for that wish, oftentimes forgetting that wish altogether. Then we're introduced to the main character of this film, Asha, played by Ariana DeBose, who I thought really did a fantastic job in this role. Not only did she do a great job just playing the character, but her vocal performance throughout the course of the film for the musical numbers was fantastic. And I would say that that's a flat out praise I have for everybody in this film. I think everybody did an incredible job when it came to the vocal parts of this film that required them to sing. And there's some really standout moments, very notably with Ariana DeBose and Chris Pine. I thought the two of them killed it in certain moments. There's a song that the two characters that they play sing together pretty early on in the film that I found to be absolutely riveting right out of the gate and hooked me into the movie pretty early on. Well, the movie starts off and Asha has now had the opportunity to go and interview to be the apprentice of this sorcerer king Magnifico. And when she gets there, she realizes that he's not really the protector of these wishes as much as it seems like he's keeping them captive, and that she now wants to try to do something for the people of Rosas to free their wishes so that they can take their dreams and into their own hands. And this is a movie that I think came out at the perfect time for me. I won't lean too much more into what the premise is all about and how things start to spiral out, because I feel like a lot of the narrative has been pretty vague when you look at the trailers. But this is a movie at its center about dreams and wishes, and us taking our own dreams and wishes into our own hands. I've talked about it here on the channel on countless occasions, but I've always been a dreamer. When I was in high school and I was getting closer to graduation, I had so many teachers and guidance counselors and different individuals telling me what I should be looking for in life, what kind of career paths to follow, what kind of things I should be doing. There was a paper we had to write in our senior year about what we wanted to do as far as what college we wanted to go to and what we wanted to follow. And at the time, I wanted to become a recording artist. I was in a band and it's all I wanted to do. And for the next few years, I wrote out that dream. Ultimately, it didn't lead to where I wanted it to, but I got to do some incredible things. I got to record an album. I got to play with some touring acts, and I got to just live out this really passionate part of who I was. And I have so many fond memories of it because of it. And I learned a lot. It really taught me a lot of people skills and just a lot of my own personal life skills through going through that endeavor. And I didn't necessarily go through what people told me I should go through. And ultimately that led to a lot of discouragement as I left that creative side of me behind and I started working menial jobs. Well, here we are all these years later, and I decided to start a YouTube channel, and now 5 years into doing YouTube, I'm finally getting some early invites for movies. I'm starting to kind of have connections with certain studios, and I've been able to do some amazing things. I even have an upcoming sponsor for the channel coming shortly, and it feels good, and I took this channel and I was able to do this, on my own. I was able to drive this dream to make this channel a success and continue to make it a success in small ways over the course of time. All this to say, I've always been a dreamer. I've always been somebody who has wishes and dreams, and it's easy for us in this world to kind of speak those wishes out into the universe, hope that something or someone grabs onto it, or the people in our lives that we tell our dreams and wishes to, that they'll help us in some way get there. But ultimately what this movie is all about is recognizing that when you do that, a lot of times you tend to let go of your wishes and your dreams. A lot of times you tend to kind of put your hope and faith in things that aren't really going to achieve those dreams and wishes. And this movie is really about us taking our own dreams and wishes into our own hands and making them a reality. Sure, you may or may not be able to actually achieve your dream the exact same way you thought you would, but it doesn't mean that you can't try. It doesn't mean that there isn't that will and that passion to maybe make something of that dream and wish. And ultimately, that's what Wish is all about. And it really resonated with me. It's something that I felt resonated with me a lot right now at this current moment in my life, but also something that I feel like I would have resonated with 10, 15 years ago as well, as I've always been somebody who is a big dreamer, a big wisher in a lot of ways. And ultimately, I found that this film had a really strong narrative on that sense. Now, I mentioned before that it is familiar and it is redundant in that sense, because this is a movie again that culminates all of these different storylines and brings us all these different elements from various other Disney films in a way that for me came across charming and clever, but for some might come across again redundant. This isn't a movie that's going to have a lot of twists and turns and surprise you and where it's going going. I ultimately was able to predict pretty much everything that played out in the story, but this was a movie about feeling and charm. And I had that part of my brain that wanted to be critical and tear at certain parts of this movie, but my heart, it was just connecting with the movie. And I love when I can watch a movie that allows me to turn the critical side of my mind off just a little bit, where I can still recognize certain things that might not work for other people, but ultimately worked a lot for me. And that's how I felt about Wish. I just feel ultimately that this movie just had heart, it had charm, it had a really great message that I think young individuals and older individuals are gonna be able to connect to. And beyond that too, it had great music. I gotta give massive kudos to the composer of this film, which is Dave Metzger, who's done the score for things like the Tarzan sequels and Brother Bear 2, as well as the recent Once Upon a Studio, which was the short that I didn't actually cover here on the channel, but I did write a little thing for it on Letterboxd that I checked out, where it brings together all of the characters from all of these years of storytelling from Walt Disney Studios. And so yeah, you know, I really thought the music of this film was great. I thought the musical score was fantastic. Obviously there's a lot of people involved in the music, and anytime I started to kind of get critical about some of the elements with the stories, a new musical number would kick in, and I honestly found myself completely riveted by all of the musical numbers in this film. They were inspiring, they were beautiful to listen to, the vocal performances across the board were great, they were melodic, and I've been singing a lot of those songs in my head since I saw the movie. I look forward to checking out the movie again and getting to know these songs a little bit better, and listen to the soundtrack online, because I honestly thought that this had some of the best music that we've seen in a Disney film since something like Moana. It had some really memorable songs that I do think are going to be standouts for people as this movie gets to a wider audience as time goes on. And I think it goes without saying, I'm a fan of the film. I just genuinely found this film to be beautifully animated, incredibly well acted. I found the vocal performances throughout the musical performances to be great. I found the songs themselves to be catchy, fun to listen to, and engaging. And at its core, this is a movie about us taking our dreams and our wishes in our own hands and running with it and making something of it our own. And to, you know, stop living in a world where we just always put our dreams into other people's hands, or we don't always, you know, try to go for what we want to do ourselves. You know, it's something that tends to happen. It's something I've done on countless occasions, and I think that's why this movie spoke to me. So I think if you're a dreamer, if you're somebody who wishes a lot for a bigger and better life, this movie is going to resonate with you, as well as it just being fun and cute. And as a Disney fan, as a longtime Disney fan, there are so many Easter eggs, references, little hints and nods, and even just, again, characters that are dressed like characters that you are going to be familiar with. This movie is a love letter to years and years of storytelling in the universe of Disney, and I just genuinely thought that they did a really great job with it. Again, not wholly original narratively, but it's all about the heart of this film that I think is where it really shines. And one last thing I really want to praise is Chris Pine as our villain Magnifico here. I thought that he was fantastic, oftentimes really kind of emulating a feel of Ursula, Jafar, the Evil Queen, and Maleficent, all at different times throughout the course of the film, which put a real big smile on my face. I think he just ate up the character. I think he had a lot of fun playing this kind of wicked character that is, you know, showing us these signs of all these characters we've known and loved over the years. I think Magnifico, as time goes on, is going to be a character that people are really going to enjoy in terms of modern day Disney villains. So again, a big thanks to you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoy Wish when you check it out. And like I said, if you see the movie and you felt that the story was maybe a little too familiar for you and too predictable, I can't begrudge you for that. I just ultimately know, as a longtime Disney fan myself, and for the fact that the story here really resonated with me and who I personally am, that this was a movie that I really thoroughly enjoyed. I loved it. I had a blast with it. I don't think it's perfect, but it pretty much hit the nail on the head for me in every way that I possibly would want it to, and just made me feel good, which is something I can always kind of put above any sort of critical nitpicks that I might have when I watch a movie. So a big thanks to you guys for watching. Let me know down below. Are you looking forward to checking out Wish when it comes out this coming week? Are you going to check it out? Are you not going to check it out? Whatever the case may be, leave any and all comments down below, and I'll see you beautiful people in the next one. Bye-bye.